It knocks out everything that Elijah Muhammad, Father Allah, brought to the people when they said that the white man was created in the laboratory.
That don't. It's true.
So you agree with Elijah Muhammad?
We genetically modified the Rhesus monkey.
Okay.
We genetically evolved the Rhesus monkey, and that's why when they dealing with the studies of the caveman, there's large gaps between his intellectual capacities, which is how they grouped them from Cro-Magnon and so on and so forth. They can't fill in those groups because there was no fill-ins for them. We genetically enhanced one and watched it grow. Then we saw its shortcomings, got rid of that group.
So you and Tahuti is in conflict because Tahuti don't believe in that teaching no more.
Well, I mean, science, R-H-E-S-U-S. I mean, he don't have to believe it. You know, Europeans have validated this science, and this is why they did such a big fuss about tracing the DNA and the haplogroups and the mitochondrial DNA, because they thought they was going to find something that validated white supremacy, when all they found was black origins staring them in the face. In fact, it's ASPM genes in the brain that allows for one to be able to articulate or speak intelligently, okay? They didn't even have ASPM genes in their brain 7,000, 8,000 years ago. So what does that mean in English? That means that only thing they could communicate was grunts back and forth to each other prior to 10,000 years, since 7,000, 8,000 years ago. So before 10,000 years ago, they couldn't have done anything intelligible. And this is proven scientific fact. Look, not in our laboratories, it's in their laboratories.
Okay, Tahuti will break down his point. That the white man is a light-skinned African.
Well, I mean, I already know his point, because his point is based on the studies that a lot of our scholars have done. Unfortunately, a lot of our scholars, our earlier scholars, they were educated in European schools. So they have the European philosophy that they built their foundation on. So they went out and with the foundation that they got in the European schools, went and did their own research into Afrocentrism and Africa and things of that nature. However, they still had a lot of foundation that was built in those European schools. It just is what it is. Okay.
All right.
So I know the community may get at Minister Inky, but you can't fight science. It is what it is. And O negative blood is very is the most purest blood on the planet. So the next thing would be, why is it that white people have O negative blood just like black people have O negative blood? The reason being is because the bloodlines have been mixed for thousands of years, okay? But when you trace the origin, they would tell you if you open up any book, O blood type is the original, and the difference between O negative and O positive is that O negative, they have no scientific origin on this planet for O negative blood type. But they do know that O positive comes from Rhesus monkeys, and that's Google searchable.
Sutek Google something, and that's dealing with the statement that we made earlier about the white man being from monkeys. Sutek, what you got for us, brother?
I just looked up Rhesus monkey on Google, and this is what it says. It's a lot here. I'll just read the first couple of paragraphs. It said the Rhesus macaque, spelled M-A-C-A-Q-U-E, but they also put in parentheses Rhesus monkey, spelled M-O-N-K-E-Y. Is an abundant primate species that diverged from the ancestors of Homo sapiens about 25 million years ago. Because they are genetically and physiologically similar to humans, Rhesus monkeys are the most widely used non-human primate in basic and applied biomedical research.
Wow.
We determined that the genome sequence of an Indian origin macaca, mulatta female, they're referring to the monkey, and compared the data with chimpanzees and humans to reveal the structure of ancestral primate genomes and to identify evidence for positive selection and lineage-specific expansions and contractions of gene females. A comparison of sequences from individual animals was used to investigate their underlying genetic diversity. The complete description of the Mackay genome blueprint enhances the utility of this animal model for biomedical research and improves our understanding of the basic biology of the species. The end of that is just a lot of scientific stuff on why they use the monkey in tests.
Well, no.
Hold on a second. Let me just finish.
For experimental things,
Right. But the beginning of it, first part what I said, backs up what he says, but in reverse. They're saying that the monkey came from the human.
25 million years
25 million years ago.
Now here's the fly thing.
And Brother Inky said that the human came from the monkey.
Right. Now here's the fly thing. You can see where they're trying to play games with the information. Because in the same breath, they would tell you that there was no humans here 25 million years ago.
That is true.
They would tell you that we came here a few thousand years ago, or that the first cavemen, so to speak, were here 200,000 years ago. So you got to see where the flaws come in that shows that the information might be slightly, and this is how history gets tainted. They take a fact and distort it just a little bit. And when they distort it just a little bit, that's enough to throw most people off the trail for good. And then they build upon cracked foundations, and then you get completely flawed sciences, like saying that the European is a light-skinned African. Also, you can also Google search. Well, you probably have to do a little bit more than Google search. But if you look at the Indian scriptures, they document tens of thousands of years of war between Africans and monkey men. And they say monkey men specifically. Okay?
Wow.
All you have to do is look in the Indian scripture.
The Indians?
The Europeans. They would tell you, though, that it's in their scriptures. They got tens of thousands of years of written history of wars between. Well, they kind of came before the cave people, and that's how they became cave people, because as a result of these wars, there was a nuclear fallout, and people had to retreat into caves and things like that, and so on and so forth. But I want to get off the subject. But they document tens of thousands of years of wars between Africans and monkey men, and now that history has become blurred. The only documents that you have is those Indian scriptures that document that. They call it myth now to throw you off of it. And the only remnant left of that's in hardcore science is biology with the Rh positive and Rh negative, because they can't get rid of certain things because they have to understand their phenotype. That's why it's dangerous for us to go into these hospitals, because these hospitals are not dealing with our phenotype. Okay? Like I said, when you're dealing with Europeans, also a lot of us tend to forget, because we talk about melanin so much, that we think that they don't have any melanin. If Europeans didn't have any melanin, they would be dead. All of their organs, every cell in their body requires melanin to function. So they have to have melanin inside their body for it to function.
So what's the percentage of it?
It's a lower percentage, and like I said earlier, it's a different type of melanin. We have eumelanin, they have pheomelanin. Pheomelanin is a recessive type of melanin, and when you look at it under a microscope, it cracks. Okay, so that's another reference to cracker, right? But it cracks up when you look at their melanin under a microscope. But it's pheomelanin and eumelanin, completely different. They have sulfur at the core of their melanin, which means that they have a completely different biological structure.
Okay.
A completely different biological structure. That's why the hair is different, the lifespan is different, everything is completely different. And that's why even with them eating healthy as possible, because they in the spas, they in the health food places, and they've been in there for years.
They run all
that's
day.
That's right. Now they run all they doing everything to be healthy, right? And they doing everything to supply us with shit to keep us unhealthy. So even with the liquor, even with the weed, even with the crack, even with the cigarettes, even with the AIDS, the cancer, the heroin, all that shit, we still outlive their ass. So you have to ask yourself the next question, especially when you look at, for instance, look at the brother Polite with all those books he wrote. He has spent 20 years eating McDonald's, loading up on sugar, had diabetes and all that. You gotta ask yourself, look at Malcolm X. Spent all that time dyeing his hair, eating pork and all that shit. What would our level of excellence be right? Because Michael Jordan, look how he revolutionized. But look at all our greats. What would our level of excellence be had we practiced health from the womb to the tomb like they do, as hard and religious as they do? If we paid attention to our diets, that's right. And Superman is based on the science of the black body, because Superman was created by two Jewish guys in the middle of that whole German, that whole German thing, which wasn't really about Jewish people. It was about Africans. The Holocaust